Fridays will not be the same in the coming months until maybe a part 5 of the anime of JoJo is announced. Oh man, it really sucks when you enjoy a series so much and it finally concludes because you're like, there's no more. I have nothing next week. I can't look forward to the series next week because there's not going to be any new content. I mean, obviously, I can go out of my way and read the manga, which I might do depending on how long it takes for them to, like, announce a Part 5 anime. But, I mean, at this time, though, it sucks, because when Friday rolls around next week and all that, and I expect to watch JoJo, it won't be there, because the anime is done for now, for however long it's going to be. So, I'm kind of sad. I'm very sad it's the finale, but it was a very solid conclusion to Part 4 of JoJo. All the main plot points were concluded. We got the little bit of an epilogue with the characters at the end, letting us know that all the characters are going to be fine, because, you know, the main threat Kira was done. The town is hurt, obviously, but, I mean, everything is going to go on track into where everybody will be fine, and, you know, the town will be safe once again if something ever happens, because Josuke is there. So, I mean, overall, the conclusion of Part 4, it's very solid. I feel like it answered all my questions. The only thing I can say I wish I knew more about would most likely be about the afterlife, like, for instance, where Kira exactly went. But on top of that, I would like to know more about, you know, whoever saved Josuke as a kid. You know, the person that had his same hairstyle and all that. I wish we would have found out more about that person. But regardless of those two little plot points that, you know, I'd like to know, but we don't really need to know, I think overall it was just a great conclusion of Part 4. So let's talk about Kira. So Kira, he dies, and I mean, that's to be expected of a villain in JoJo. A villain usually dies in, you know, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure towards the end, or even in the middle. And the way Kira died is so different from any of the other villains. I mean, it wasn't even the Joestars that actually took down Kira. I mean, they hurt him, put him in that situation, but at the end of the day, though, they're not the ones that dealt that final blow to him. And the way Kira died, it was just something that really spoke a lot of words without even having any words said. I mean, this man, throughout the entirety of JoJo Part 4, he's constantly said he's lucky. Luck is on his side. I talked about this in my last week's review. He's someone that's always had luck on his side, and, you know, you have the Joestars always overcoming that luck, overcoming destiny. That's like, you know, the main character of a shonen, how they overcome, you know, destiny or whatever, and you have this villain say, like, destiny's against you, it's your destiny, your fate to lose, and it was like these two themes that you would see common in shonen being used in a way that I've really never seen before, and it was just amazing to see it represented like this. And I mean, the way Kira died, it was so ironic, because this is a man that constantly said he had luck on his side, he was a lucky person, and then when this man gets beat, and he's on the ground, and he's still, you see this willpower in this man. He's pushing himself up. And I mean, this man, he's like shifting between unconsciousness to being conscious. And I mean, this man is just using everything he can not to give up. And it's pretty sad when you see him in that state. Even though he's a villain, even though he's a monster and he's killed so many people, I still felt bad for him, because I mean, this man going that far to really try to save himself and not want to be defeated, it's just something like, holy shit, it just shows you how much this meant to him and how much he really did not want to go down. And I honestly felt sad for him, but I mean, at the same time, we do know he's committed a lot of evil deeds. And when everything was said and done, when this man's on the ground trying to pull himself back up, and you know, you even have the Joestars, everybody's just, you know, commending this man, like, holy shit, this man, his willpower. A car comes back, a van, and runs over his head and just snaps his neck, breaks his face, and it's a horrific death. It's such a horrific death, but it was so quick that you know he didn't really probably feel that much. But on top of that, though, the way he died, it was so unlucky, because, I mean, you gotta realize this from a certain point of view. It was lucky and unlucky. It was unlucky because, for one, this man died in a way that was just completely by accident. He didn't even expect to die like that. Nobody expected him to die like that. It just, a car accidentally backed up, didn't see him, ran him over. And I mean, that stuff happens in everyday life. Just unlucky events like that happen. And the way Kira died, it was just so unlucky. You're like, holy shit, that's kind of fucked up. I mean, this man, he didn't even get to go to a trial, court, anything. You didn't even have the Joestars deal the final blow, nothing like that. The man just got ran over. It just ran over by a van, and that was just GG to his life, and it was just over. And it's kind of like, holy crap, this character, that's had all this build-up, all the shit he's done, he dies like that, and, you know, honestly, it's a really fitting death. I mean, his character in general dying like that, it makes sense. Like I said, he's someone that's always had luck on his side, but then something very unlucky happens, and his head gets smashed. And then, you could call it lucky because he didn't have a painful death. That's another way you can go about it. You could say he had a quick death, and he didn't succumb to maybe eternal torture from, you know, the Joestars or something, or maybe getting turned into a fucking stone or book, like what happened to the other, you know, villains of Part 4. So, I mean, maybe Kira got lucky. Maybe. But, I mean, we have to remember, though, even though he died, he did get sent to whatever that world is with the hands, and now he's probably going to be suffering for all of eternity. So, he's still suffering for all of eternity, and it's kind of fucked up, too, when you think about how he died as well. So, I mean, it's like he's in his own personal hell. It just, all the things that Kira stood for, and something that made his character was against him in this episode. I mean, we see a little bit of his, like, fetish. We do know Kira has something for hands. We know he loves hands. He usually keeps the hands of his victim around him in his belongings, pocket, or whatever. And, I mean, this man, he died thanks to his hands. I mean, the hands drug him into a hell, whatever that place is, and that's where he went. A bunch of hands just came out and grabbed this man, and I mean, he even said in this episode that he got an erection by looking at the Mona Lisa's hands. Like, he's like, I got a boner from seeing her hands, and that's just like, damn, this man revealing his, like, secret dark fetishes, and this man loses his hand thanks to a dog, and that's one of the funniest things to me, honestly. I mean, it's really funny because I've talked about this many times before in my previous anime reviews. Animal cruelty is a thing. There's so many freaking animals that have died in this series. I mean, dogs, cats, birds, whatever. There's been a bunch of creatures that have died in this series, and seeing a dog kind of being the reason for a villain going down in the first place, I'm like, yo, I guess this is like, you know, animals striking back and saying fuck you and killing, you know, Kira. So seeing the dog doing the finishing blow, ripping off this man's hand, and then, you know, he gets pushed off into the hands and they drag him into the abyss, it's a great way to kind of conclude. I mean, it's funny to me just because a dog did it, but on top of that, though, how he died, it's kind of funny how his very fetish was against him. This man, his hand got ripped off. You saw the dog rip it off, and then that's something he loves. We know he loves his hands. Like, he collects them. And with his hand being ripped off, it's kind of like what was always he was doing to others was done to him. His hand got ripped off, and when he was casted into the darkness, wherever hell that is, and hands just dragged him in. So, I do like how he was defeated. Just the message and how ironic it was, I truly did enjoy that, the way Part 4 JoJo was trying to represent that. So, regardless of Kira's character, I do say that I did enjoy him as a villain. I feel like he was definitely someone I will remember, and he'll definitely be a character hard to beat. And it's just kind of funny when you think about it. It's a character that isn't necessarily completely OP. I've talked about, I mean, his abilities, it's kind of standard. It's very simplistic, but it's the way he uses them that makes it very strong. And, I mean, Kira's character, the way he was constantly thinking about different plans and stuff, trying to outsmart the Joestars, he's someone I truly, you know, I guess, liked watching and seeing what he was doing next in each individual episode. You can't really say that Part 4 JoJo is just the Joestars as the main character, or even Koichi as the main character, because, I mean, Josuke didn't really have as much screen time as maybe Koichi did, but on top of that, though, even Kira had his own individual episodes with his own individual development going on, which you never really saw in, you know, the other previous parts. You never really saw other villains in their perspective, like, you know, Dio. I mean, there may have been a few occasions with Dio, but we never had a full episode focused on Dio, seeing what was going on with him, what he was trying to accomplish, and seeing this from the perspective of Kira and what he was trying to do, it made him personally one of my favorite villains of Part 4, and also one of my favorite villains of JoJo in general. It's probably going to be hard to beat this villain. In my personal opinion, it's probably going to be hard to beat Kira, because what he did and what he stood for and how he went down just has a very good message. Now, besides that, I say that everything ends well, I guess, where, you know, the town was, where this all started. I mean, Josuke, he's gonna be living his happy life. I mean, he got to meet his, you know, father. You have it to where he steals some money from Joseph at the end. That's some pretty funny shit. I mean, just they're going off on more adventures, I guess. You have it to where, you know, Jotaro, he's going back to where he came from. Joseph, he's leaving as well. Josuke's doing his own thing in the town, and I mean, it's pretty much it. I mean, it was just a solid conclusion. So, do I expect to see Josuke in the next part? Like, I'm very curious about that. I gotta ask, you know, manga readers. I mean, I'm assuming so, because, I mean, when it comes to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it goes through generations, and, I mean, usually you get a new JoJo, new cast of characters every single part, so obviously we're gonna get a new JoJo in part, 5. I'm curious, though, if any of these characters that we have seen throughout part 4 is gonna be reoccurring. For instance, pop up in part 5. I mean, Jotaro isn't dead either, and Joseph isn't necessarily dead, and I don't know how long part 5 is in the future. I mean, it could be maybe a year time after part 4 ends, maybe it's 10 years, I have no idea. So I'm just stating there might be a possibility we could possibly see Joseph in the next part. Maybe we could see Jotaro again, we could see, Josuke, Okuyasu. And I mean, if Okuyasu does carry on in the next parts, I'd like to see this man get more development, because if he's not dead, it leaves a lot of room for his character to get more development, and even Koichi as well. So I'd like to see Koichi, Okuyasu, and Josuke carry on to the next part, and just see their type of development, and also Jotaro as well. If I had to assume anything, though, if it does take probably 10 years into the future, maybe 5 years, I'm going to assume Joseph is probably going to die. So this probably will be the final time we might see Joseph in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which kind of makes me sad, because, I mean, he is up there in age, he really can't fight anymore, and I'm kind of sad about that. I mean, I'm really sad that, he probably won't have a role to play for the rest of the series at all, and it's just a GG to his character. I mean, he's had a really good ride. I've enjoyed Joseph's character, and I mean, if this is my final part of seeing him, I guess it's a great way to go out. I mean, he adopted, a new daughter, the baby, and so maybe that might be the next main character of, part 5, I was gonna say part 4, maybe that'll be the next main character of, part 5 of JoJo, because it was an adopted baby. So we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or nights wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.